Howdy, this is Aztec 101 in the ring. So this is a follow-up video on my last video. Real quick, I really do want to talk about a few things. Um, LV1, he did a video with Dream Chasing Boxing, brought up some shit, ended up going on a racist rant to try to make a point. You know, to me, I felt like that was like he's been itching to say this shit, and it was just all green light to say it. Because let's not try to pretend like all that was necessary. Um, and not all that. And it. Let's keep it real, man. Let's keep it real. That was some racist ass shit that you were spewing. The LV1. So Mexicans come there and they show up just to work for pennies. Um, right? Just to here's the thing. They all come here for the family. In the end, there's been a connection to this land for a long time. For a long time, right? No border or wall can stop that shit. And there's a lot of ignorance on your end. You know, there's a lot of ignorance. I hate being reminded about shit that I already know. I hate being reminded that you know, hey, you're not supposed to be speaking Spanish. I already fucking know that shit. I'm not supposed to be speaking English. You're not supposed to be speaking English, dumbass. The fuck? You're not supposed to be speaking Spanish. You're not Spanish. Like, on some ignorant ass shit. Like, we know this. We know this. How we identify. It's not us that has a hard time. Identifying ourselves. It's you having a hard time identifying us. That's the main thing. You really don't get it. See, you really think that a lot of Mexicans come here. The majority of Mexicans come here, right? And they work minuscule jobs. And they get used for cheap labor, right? Um, that's 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 a percentage, right? But that doesn't make up who we are or what we're capable of. You know, not even close. And that's really degrading to just sum it up to they're here to work for pennies. That's degrading. You're not saying they're here to better the lives of their family. They're here to get a better opportunity. They're here to work for pennies. You're already showing a little bit of, you're okay with degrading Hispanics and Latinos that come here. And that's okay with a lot of people. It's not the first time I've heard that shit. So this isn't new. I'm just addressing shit that, the elephant in the room. Another thing that you brought up was like, well, they choose to come here. Regardless, they come here to work pennies, better their family, whatever. They choose to come here. We didn't choose to come here, right? That's the point that he made. Like, African Americans did not choose to come here, and that's a point. But we did not choose for them to bring you here, and we didn't choose for them to come here. We didn't choose for anybody else to come here. We didn't choose any of that. We didn't choose for these borders to be laid out the way they are. We didn't choose any of that shit. We did not choose our history to be destroyed. We didn't choose any of that shit. So, for and then there's this sometimes I'm gonna address it now because I'm just I'm just gonna be honest in this video, but sometimes I feel when it comes down to being, talking about race, with white people, it's a little bit different. With white people, um, there's no real question. It's just, they kind of understand that I have a different perspective. But when it comes down to, or they'll try to argue me regardless, but it's different. With African Americans, there's the same conversation, but I get the sense that, like, my opinion isn't valued as if because I'm Mexican or because I'm not black, I don't know about racism at the level or extent that they have it, to the point where, even on his, like, it doesn't go down to personal, because even if I have personal experiences that match up and are equal to the experiences that you would run across to, it still goes back to, well, my people were slaves and my people were this, and it seems like there's a lack of education to, when it comes down to Mexicans and how they were treated, and the way they were living under colored people rules, because a lot of the history isn't taught in school. So when it comes down to having a conversation about race, it almost seems like because I'm Mexican, I'm not qualified to talk about it. But it's far beyond the truth. It's not even close to the truth. I have every perspective in the book that you can put down. You can't talk about race until your people have been enslaved and taken away from their culture, and removed from their rights and treated like second class citizens and animals. Um, check, 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 and check. You know, so I feel like I feel like I have every right to talk about race, and it comes down to the fact that there's the reason why I'm having this conversation is because, like I said, it's happening with or without us. But when you have this kind of conversation, you have someone pop off the handle and having racist remarks, thinking that they're making a point. They're not, because really you just exposed yourself as a fucking dickhead. There's a lot of other shit that you mentioned. I'm gonna go into it later, but the main point is you trying to tell us about some shit that we already know. You know, oh, they're nothing but mutts. All these negative connotations to who we are. You know, and during the elections, there's always more of this conversation that pops up, and I'm fucking tired of it. I'm fucking the Hispanic community is fucking blamed for, we're taking jobs, we're we're creating crime, right? And then to stack up on it, we hate black people. I saw some ignorant ass comments saying that, hey, there's places in East LA where if you're black, you'll get shot. Like, that's some of the most ignorant shit I've ever heard. I heard that shit, like something similar from a white person. Like, I used to have, some white friends that would say, like, oh, I won't go to Compton because you'll get shot there. And I'll be like, what do you mean you'll get shot there? Not for being there. You're not causing problems, It's not like that. It's not fucking Middle East or some shit. Or, I don't know. You're not just gonna get shot for no reason. But they really believe, well, no, well, a white guy in the middle of Compton, you get shot, you get robbed, you get. It's like, no, it's not how it happens. And that's the same kind of ignorance sometimes. Sometimes I feel like it's the same shit. Either white people or African Americans. Sometimes the ignorance comes a little bit the same, comes off the same. And um, just seeing some random ass shit. Like, oh, Hispanics, they practice they there's so much, like, they practice. I saw a comment saying, like, they practice white supremacy. right? On their own people. And but you say that, but you don't understand like what you're saying. Look it up though. You don't understand. It's like, it's a little bit deeper. I can't go into it in a video, but yeah, it's true. There's definitely white supremacy in Mexico, and it's make it very difficult for other people of color like myself to survive, right? Because it's just, but it's not necessarily, um when you say they, it's like you include me in it. It's like, well, wait, some of us, some of they, some of them are the victims of what you're talking about. So you can't just say they, and then where does that white supremacy come from? Is that white supremacy any different than the white supremacy in America? Are they just the same people, speaking different languages from the same families, speaking different languages? I mean, can you elaborate? Or are you just talking at your ass? Let's have this conversation. If anybody wants to chime in, let me know. This is Aztec 101 in the ring, and I'm out.